summarize like where we're at from all of our efforts this summer. Like what did we do over the summer? And
Well,
where-
over the summer, we did a lot of meetings with city officials and county officials, and attempted to with BLM officials. And there were a lot of written comments about people's concerns about this whitewater drilling project. There were a lot of comments against it, but the political money power were very much for it. So we're fighting the city council that really wants it, but some members don't. We have a county commissioners that are 100% for it. Chamber of Commerce is 100% for it. The newspaper's all the way for it. But a lot of the people that vote are not for it. But we don't have a big voice yet. But we did have some pretty productive meetings, I think, and put some ideas in the heads of certain people that, especially the city, about the water up here, that they I think give some really strong thought to this, because I never have seen their opinion yet.
They have reserved their opinion.
They have well, that's a good sign, because they're very conflicted, because they have properties that they don't want this to happen to. They've got water issues, but yet it could be a money-making proposition, and some city council members are interested in the money. But at the moment, I felt like we made some progress. You might say it's sort of stalled out at the minute. We're just waiting on a decision from the BLM, and I hope we had enough legitimate sounding concerns that the BLM will consider strongly, especially in the shallow aquifer area, that they would maybe think twice about line drilling in there. So that's my hope, and I think that's what we managed to do so far.
And when we met with the state BLM 2 summers ago,
Yeah.
they had to remand it because they failed to analyze for fracking, right?
Right. Western Colorado Congress got a meeting with the BLM in the Denver office, and they invited me to go to say my piece, and I was very happy about that I could do that. And we went over there. Van loaded us a different interest. We had different environmental interests, and I had the ranching interests. And sat down and talked to them at length. And I drew a picture up on their board there. I says, what happens when you drill straight down? You can cap off, you can put cement in there and stop, say, water or the chemicals from combining with each other. But when you start drilling directionally this way, I said, how do you do that? How do you stop that? If you drill in my water, then what? And the guy that was in charge of that just sat there and looked, and he had no answer. He just sat there and looked. He couldn't answer it. And then one of the ladies that said, we have a response from Fram on our first comment period. He says, they will not frack. And he says, what? He says, they have to. Fracking is required to get product out of the ground. And he said, we didn't know that. They did not know that Fram had told this office they were not going to frack. So that, after we had that meeting with them, it was less than 2 weeks maybe, they put a stop to it. They said, we have to restudy this. Now, how far that went, I don't know, because we could never really get much of an answer out of them.
Yeah, well, the new document we looked at this summer had reanalyzed for fracking technology, and they had to increase the amount of water that they were expecting to use. But otherwise they didn't really change their proposal too much. So, but they have at least technically analyzed for fracking now. So. Didn't change the number of wells or where they were putting it.
But they vandalized.
Yeah.
They checked that box.
They did check the box. But so we're not done yet. We're still ready. We're ready for another round. But
I think the last issue is that Fram is not very well financed. The best that we can hear is they are borderline bankrupt. And for them to proceed and lease or buy rigs or whatever, they're going to have millions of dollars of investment from somebody. That they claim they have $30 million in there of worth of lease based on thin air. based on somebody's, oh, there's got to be this much in the ground, there just has to be. Based on nothing. In my opinion, because they haven't proven what's there. So I don't know how they can base that, but anyway, it's probably a selling point to them to peddle it to somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
To do the same thing again.
Sounds like the same story everywhere.
Yeah.
Do you have any last thoughts that you want to share? What you think our hopes are for the future, maybe?
Well, my hope is that there will be there's already such a glut of shale gas. That first of all, I can't imagine it's economically feasible to even begin this project in an area that really is a very small area, and it's not a pocket of gas like in Garfield County. It's not even the same type of formation, I don't believe, but it just seems to me like they're just going up there we'll just drill into this and see what we can get. Attitude, just kind of cavalier-like, and it seems like if I was doing that as a business venture, I'd be very irresponsible. But they seem to, in the past, have done some of it and been totally unsuccessful. So I'm hoping that they were not.
Mm-hmm. You think our organizing is helping?
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely. You've been a blessing to me. Even one of the ranchers down the road that doesn't quite understand the WCCs asked me a while back, says, do they actually do any good for you? And I said, absolutely. They absolutely have. They represented us to the authorities in a way that we could talk to them and present our case in a manner that made sense. And says, yeah, Western Colorado Congress has been absolutely beneficial. And so I would hope that we can get more of that exposure to people like him, maybe from people like me, because they'll listen to somebody that,
Mm-hmm.
that has had some experience and at least does some of the same things they do,
Right? That's helpful.
That was a nice plug.
Nice.
No,
Thanks, Bob.
yeah.